Bismillah, salatu wassalamu ala Rasulillah. Today I want to talk about an ayah in Al-Quran Kareem that comes from Surah An-Nisa. Surah An-Nisa is one of the early surahs that came to the Prophet ﷺ. And there's many guidelines in that surah to Rasulullah ﷺ and the rest of the Muslims for how to deal with each other in very specific situations. And there's also many guidelines that are universal laws, so to speak, that Allah put forth for us to follow. In other words, universal guidelines that apply to any situation. And sometimes those are not fully understood when we don't know the exact meaning of what Allah is trying to convey. So I wanted to take one ayah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in ayah number 58, it says, إِنَّ اللَّهَ يَأْمُرُكُمْ أَن تُؤَدُّوا الْأَمَانَاتِ إِلَى أَهْلِهَا وَإِذَا حَكَمْتُمْ بَيْنَ النَّاسِ أَن تَحْكُمُوا بِالْعَدْلِ إِنَّ اللَّهَ نِعِمَّا يَعِظُكُم بِهِ إِنَّ اللَّهَ كَانَ سَمِيعًا بَصِيرًا. And the translation of which says that surely Allah commands you to give trust to those who are entitled to them. And that when you judge between people, you judge with justice. Surely excellent is that which Allah instructs you. Indeed, Allah is all hearing and all seeing. Now, the only part I want to speak about today is the very first part of this ayah. إِنَّ اللَّهَ يَأْمُرُكُمْ أَن تُؤَدُّوا الْأَمَانَاتِ إِلَى أَهْلِهَا. It would take me too long to go through the rest. So this is the only part I want to focus on. Which means, surely Allah commands you to give amanat, which translates as trust in English, to those who are entitled to them. Amana is a heavy, heavy word in the Quran, and it's a word that we must fully understand to know what exactly Allah means by it. And unfortunately, because we live in such a materialistic world nowadays, when you say amana, when we use it in general, when we speak in Arabic, when we say the word amana, we think of amana in the material sense, like somebody gives you $100, say, can you hold that for me, brother? Or somebody gives you some gold, a woman gives some of her jewelry to somebody and says, can you hold that for me, sister? That's our very, very limited view of that word, when it's so much more than that. It's a lot more than that in the Quran, what is meant by the word amana. So, why did Allah choose to say this particular sentence in this ayah in such a long format? In the Quran, it is very important not only to know the meaning of what is being said, but to focus on how it was said. Allah simply could have said, يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا أَدُّوا الْأَمَانَاتِ إِلَى أَهْلِهَا. So, oh, you who believe, you must give the trust to those who are entitled to them. Because the principle in the Arabic language says, خَيْرُ الْكَلَامِ مَا قَلَّ وَدَلَّ. That is a principle in the Arabic language, which means that the best of speech, meaning in the Arabic language, the best of speech is that that is short and to the point. Meaning you get your point across with the smallest number of words that are needed. So why did Allah add the very crucial words in the beginning of this ayah that says, إِنَّ اللَّهَ يَأْمُرُكُمْ? That surely it is Allah who commands you. Because had He said, يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا أَدُّوا الْأَمَانَاتِ, all you who believe, give trust to those who are entitled to them. Obviously, it is inferred that Allah commands us, right? It didn't need to be said. Why was it said? What's important to understand that amana, first and foremost, you have the amana there's two kinds. The first kind is between you and Allah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Al-Ahzab, in ayah number 72, إِنَّا عَرَضْنَا الْأَمَانَةَ عَلَى السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ وَالْجِبَالِ فَأَبَيْنَ أَنْ يَحْمِلْنَهَا وَأَشْفَقْنَ مِنْهَا وَحَمَلَهَا الْإِنسَانِ إِنَّهُ كَانَ ظَلُومًا جَهُولًا. Allah says that indeed we offered the trust to the heavens and the earth and the mountains, and they refused to bear it. And mankind picked it up. Surely he was unjust and ignorant. This amana has a lengthy discussion among scholars as to exactly what it means. Some say it means the salah, some say it means the kalima, la ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah. Some say that it means the deen. But they are all in agreement that it means the commandments of Allah are obeyed. All of them agree on that. So that is the amana between you and Allah. When you don't pray, when you don't do siyam, when you don't do the things Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commands you to do, you violated the amana between you and Allah. The second kind is the amana between you and people. And that amana, as I said before, we have a very limited understanding of what it means because we limited it to the materialistic portion of that. And that is an amana as well, but it's not limited to that. A simple example I will start with, when all of us here pretty much have our driver's licenses, right? We all drive for the most part, if Allah gave us the blessing to have a car. When you got your driver's license, that was an amana from the state of Florida. So when you got your driver's license, you agreed that you are going to follow the laws of this country, the laws of this land, when you're driving. You agreed that you're not going to put anybody else in danger because you're driving in this giant steel vehicle. So, unfortunately, we, a lot of the time, forget our amanat with people. So when you start speeding, and you're going 100 on the turnpike, it's okay in your heart, as long as the fake speed didn't catch me. Florida Highway Patrol didn't catch me, don't have any speed traps. So I got away with it, so I'm fine. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reminds you, this amana, first and foremost, Allah commands you. Allah commands you to give this amana to the people who are rightful of it. And this is the crucial way that this ayah was started. Inna Allah ya'murukum. It's not that you violated the trust between you and the state of Florida. You violated the trust that Allah commanded you to give. That is the crucial meaning of this word amana. And unfortunately, in our daily lives, we violate many amanas with simply our tongue when we speak and make promises. Inshallah this, inshallah that, as if inshallah is a way to get out of something. As soon as you said yes, as soon as you said inshallah in any conversation between you and somebody else, that is now an amana. That person gave you the amana of their time. They were going to give you their time. And as we all know, time is limited. We don't get back our time. It's a very short life we have in this dunya. So when you violate a promise you make with somebody by simply agreeing to something or saying inshallah, that is an amana that you now have that you are not allowed to violate. Because you have to remember, when we violate an amana between us and Allah, Allah is Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim. Allah is the most merciful, the constantly merciful. So when you violate an amana between you and Him, yes, you should never do that. And yes, that is a huge burden on you on the Day of Judgment. But you have a much higher chance that Allah forgives you than an amana you violate between you and a person. Because at that point in time when you violate an amana between you and a person, on the Day of Judgment, that person has to forgive you. And guess what? On the Day of Judgment, what is the mentality? Allahumma nafsi, 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 nafsi. I just need to save myself. So if somebody can gain any good deeds from your good deeds, and they can take from your mizan, they will certainly do that. Because you will not find any generosity from other people on the Day of Judgment. And that is why it is very dangerous, extremely dangerous, for me and you to violate amanas of other people. Because now you're at the mercy of whether or not they choose to forgive you on the Day of Judgment. Some of our younger people here, you are in school. You might be in high school, you might be in middle school, whatever that may be. I wish the masjid would be filled with these young people so I can address them more. And you don't realize that there are countless hundreds, thousands, millions of children in the world who it's not an option to go to school. Their family cannot afford for them to go to school. Why? Because they need them to work. Because they need them to make money to support the family. There are people out there who have children who are 10 years old, 9 years old, who are working. Because they need their labor, they need their effort to support the family. Meanwhile, we have our children, some of the children who are in school, and they think nothing of it, to misbehave, to waste their time during their class time, to get bad grades. They think nothing of it. That is an amana that your parents have given to you, young man, is what I will say to them, or young woman. So when you do these things thinking you haven't violated anybody's trust, they violated the trust between them and their parents, who are working hard so that their children don't have to work. And they have the ability and the ni'mah to go and get an education. Some of the young men who get a little older in college, and this upsets me so much. You ask some of them, what's your major, my brother? What's your major, my sister? And they are 2 years, 3 years into college. I'm still undecided, I'm weighing my options. What does that say about how they respect that amana, that their parents who might be paying all their tuition for them? What does that say about that trust, how they violated that trust, that they're taking their sweet time to even decide what they want to do with the countless dollars that their parents are spending for them to be in school? Us adults here, all of us work. Inshallah, may Allah give everybody who doesn't work a proper income and a job or a business to sustain him. The people who work, as soon as you got hired for your job, you have now an amana, you have a trust from your employer. So when he pays you, it is understood that your employer expects to get his full work, the full amount of work you can do for him with that money that he pays you. So if you are in a work culture where you are given an assignment to do something and it takes you maybe 1 day, 2 days maximum to do it, that's how much time it could take you. And everybody else around you in your workplace is taking 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks to finish the same assignment. So you start saying to yourself, well, what's the big rush? I need to drag this out. I can take a week, I can take it easy. I don't need to finish this in 24 hours. I don't need to finish this in 2-3 days like I know I can. And what's actually even more interesting to me is I find some brothers who in their at work, they will sit there and listen to Quran and Islamic lectures when they should be working. Like, I need to give time to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. While you are violating the trust that your employer gave you. He's paying you money for your time. So they will sit there and believe that they're getting hasanat when Allahu A'lam, Allah may be taking away them from their good deeds because they're stealing basically money from their employer. That is an amana that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala expects you to fulfill to the one who is employing you. If you are in this country and you own a business, and I know for a fact a lot of brothers own businesses, you may be tempted to violate the amana given to you by the government of this country by cheating on your taxes. And I hear some ludicrous claims that it's halal to do that. I hear ludicrous claims like we are in a kafir country, brother. We shouldn't pay. It's haram to pay taxes actually. Really? Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commanded us to be outlaws when we are sitting under the protection of a non-Muslim country. When did this commandment come in the Quran? That's what I want to ask. When we are sitting here, as long as they do not ask us to violate our deen, we are obliged. Inna Allah ya'murukum. It's not the government that you are violating the trust between you and them. You are violating the trust that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala expects you to fulfill. So no, it is not okay to cheat on your taxes or lie on your taxes if you own a business in this country. Because that is an amana. We are here under safety and protection. Alhamdulillah, we're not in a country where they are preventing us from praying. We're not in a country where they're preventing us from even spreading the deen. I can go out in the street right now and hand out Muslim flyers. We can do everything that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commands us to do in safety and security, alhamdulillah, for the most part. So while we are sitting here in that safety, we need to fulfill the amana between us and them and be law-abiding citizens. We are supposed to be the role models of every nation we stay in. Every country there are Muslims, we are supposed to be the role models. These are the people that never cheat. These are the people who fulfill their amanas. When I give an amana to a Muslim, I know I don't have to worry. That's what has to be said about us as Muslims here. How do you think Islam spread across all continents, across all nations? Because they fulfilled their amanas. Because they realized that this amana wasn't just between them and the person that they are dealing with. This amana was between them and Allah as well. It was a command of Allah for them to fulfill this amana. When you are with your friends, with your family, you are constantly having to fulfill amanas between them. If you are mistreating your spouse, if you, my brother, are mistreating your wife, and you, my sister, are mistreating your husband, you are violating an amana. You took your wife from her parents' house, taken care of and fed and clothed, emotionally and physically taken care of. That is an amana on you to fulfill to her by providing her with everything she needs, especially emotionally, which we tend to neglect in our culture. Free time is one of the biggest amanas I see that are violated among people. If you, my sister, are not having to work, alhamdulillah, if your husband can provide for you and you're not having to work, there are many families where both the husband and the wife have to work in order to pay the bills. Inshallah, we'll make a small announcement.
Assalamu alaikum. There's a budget truck there, brother Salah. You've taken like 7 spaces. You can't do that. You have to move it. You can park it in the grass, and then we can come back, please. Thank you. Help us out.
So what we have to remember, my brother and my sister, is even among our friends and family, we have to tu'addu al-amanat, because that is not just between you and them, it is between you and Allah as well. If you are in a private conversation with somebody and they tell you things, you're automatically entrusted with these things that you are told. It means you can't hear something and then you go out, hey, did you hear about so-and-so? What happened with them? Ah, subhanAllah. They don't have to tell you not to tell anybody else. When you are in a private conversation with somebody, you as a Muslim, you should understand that is an amana. It is an amana that I don't go blabber my mouth about everything I just heard. How the tongue can drag us into the hellfire. SubhanAllah, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam told us people will be dragged on their faces to the hellfire because of their tongue. On their faces to hellfire because of their tongue. So don't hear from one ear and immediately have it come out of your mouth. Consider it an amana. Whoever said something to you, consider it an amana. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us a better understanding of what it means to fulfill our amanat and our trust to the people who deserve them. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us role models in this country who do that constantly. Jazakumullah khair for listening. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.